Hello, I'm Gary Wise from Slaw Tips, Wise Law Blog, and Wise Law Office in Toronto. We are fortunate today to be speaking with Sandra Bekhor, who is the president of Bekhor Management, a Canadian firm that specializes in marketing, practice development, and strategic planning for lawyers and other professionals throughout the nation. Sandra, welcome.
Thank you.
So, marketing for lawyers. What do lawyers need to know about marketing?
Could you ask me a bigger question?
Sure, okay. What do lawyers need to know about the universe?
Okay.
But let's stick to marketing because we only have a few minutes.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you some tips. And let's start with, what you would do first. The very first thing, and I think that a lot of law firms don't even know the answer to this, is where are your inquiries coming from? So start with generating some data. Find out what's working for you today. And, law firms, even the ones that call themselves new to marketing, are still spending some money on marketing. And not all of them know what part of that budget is actually working for them and what isn't. So simple tips like, leave a sheet at every phone. And so whoever's taking the inquiry calls, they're, even if your sheet just has, columns on it that says yellow pages, print ad, website. So at least they know very easily they could check while they're just talking to somebody, how did you hear about us? And you can compile all this data on a monthly basis and have an idea of what's working for you, what's not. So one tip, investigate what's working.
Okay, so similarly, on that theme, keep notes as well in your office. When somebody comes to see you, if you have an initial client questionnaire, make sure you ask them how they came to know about your office, and if it was a referral source, make sure you get the name of that referral source, and don't forget to thank your referral sources.
Yes.
Okay, Sandra, tip number 2.
Tip number 2. Well, you know what? This is very related to tip number 1. So after you know where your leads are coming from, analyze your marketing budget. So take a closer look at how much money are you spending over the course of a year, and what are you spending it on, and which parts of that budget are actually delivering return. Which parts are, sometimes they're even just favors for people. Oh, I sponsor this team, or I do this or that, and there isn't much thought in terms of getting a return on that dollar.
Okay, so if you're investing in the internet or the yellow pages or print ads or other typical sources, try and keep track of whether it's working for you or not, and whether you're getting an appropriate return for your investment.
Yeah, it's not like the tax man. The bill comes at the end of the year and you have to pay it. Marketing isn't like that. You have choices. If it's not working for you, you need to know that for starters.
Okay, great. Tip number 3.
Tip number 3. This is the fun one. Decide what you want. Okay, marketing is not about let's keep doing the same thing, only more of it. Tip number 3 is all about let's shape the practice. So before you start spending new money on your marketing, decide what you actually want your marketing to generate for you.
Okay, can you explain what you mean by shape your practice?
Okay, so let's talk about the 80-20 rule.
Okay.
The 80-20 rule, 80 if we apply that to your law practice, what we would expect to see is that 20% of your business drives 80% of your revenue, just as one example. Or 20% of your practice drives 80% of what you like to do, okay, as an example. So applying that, you could assess, what do I want more of?
Well, you're speaking of that's in terms of the practice generally, but for each individual lawyer, I think that means taking a look at your practice, what kind of work you're doing, what kind of work you want to be doing, and perhaps focusing your marketing efforts on the aspirations you have to try and reshape and rebuild your practice then.
Exactly. And that thought process determines where you go with your marketing plan. It's essential.
Well, we could probably spend a lot of time talking about that thought process and the analysis about developing your sense of who your target is. Do you want to speak to that briefly before we move on?
Well, I think that it's just, honestly, I think that you summarized it really well. The most important thing for law firms to think about is that when you're putting together your goals for your practice, sorry, it's not just about what area of practice do I want to specialize in. It goes much, much deeper than that. So, if you look at your current portfolio right now, okay, so that 80-20 rule, the 20% that you enjoy working with, that's profitable, and really study it. What is happening with that 20% that's working for you? Can you describe those clients? Don't tell me they're all personal injury. Go way deeper than that. What kinds of clients are they? They're not just all family law. What kinds of files are they? How do you practice with them? What is it about your style that is working with those clients?
So it's a combination of the clients, the subject matter, the specialty you may have, but take a look more closely at what's working in order to try and build on it if that's in fact what you want to be building on.
Right.
Okay, let's move on. Next tip, Sandra.
Develop a plan.
What's that?
Okay. What's that?
What's a plan?
Okay. Well, you have goals and you have some idea about, what's working in your budget, what's not working. So you already have some information that can start formulating a plan. And, at the end of the day, what does the plan look like? Well, there are a lot of steps to come up with a plan, but that ultimate deliverable of the plan, it's an action plan. So really what it does is it tells you what you're supposed to be doing.
Okay, what does a typical marketing action plan look like?
Develop a logo, develop a tagline, contact my referral network over LinkedIn, expand my contacts on LinkedIn, find my old classmates on Facebook. So it includes firm level marketing and it includes personal level marketing. Speaking engagements. What do I want to speak about? Who in the firm is going to speak? Where? About what? And how am I going to make that happen? What are the steps that need to be in place in order for that to happen? And it gets down to the specifics of, okay, if I'm going to be speaking, how often am I going to be speaking? By the end of the year, if my goal is to drive X dollars in revenue, how many of these marketing activities need to happen at what frequency for that financial goal to be a reality? That's how we work backwards to come up with a marketing plan.
That winds up being a very customized plan for each firm, for each lawyer within a firm. And obviously there's a fair amount of groundwork that needs to be done to make all these things happen.
Yes, and the groundwork is first of all about your goals, but secondly, it's really about the talents and the interests in the firm. So, when we start talking about the personal aspect of the marketing plan, you're not really going to get very far forcing your lawyers who are uncomfortable speaking to speak, or forcing the lawyers who are uncomfortable writing to write, or forcing the ones who are uncomfortable tweeting to tweet. You're really going to get a lot farther if you really look at what is the talent that I have right now, not just from a legal services point of view, but from servicing the marketing plan. And how can I max out that talent?
Okay, great. And your final tip for today?
Implement before the ink dries. Don't put that plan on the shelf and say, yeah, we're great, we did a marketing plan. Start implementing before you even finish writing the plan. Those are the best plans I've ever worked on with my clients.
Okay, and this isn't one of your tips, but I'll add this, and maybe you can speak to this as well. Lawyers out there, we are really good at marketing, but we're not as good as professionals who do marketing. And I strongly urge you to involve professionals at every step of the way in order to maximize the impact of your marketing program. Sandra, what can professionals bring that the typical talented lawyer simply can't do for him or herself?
Well, I mean, the first thing is we bring objectivity. So, it's very hard. One of the very premises, the foundation of branding is to understand what you're good at and to put that message into your marketing. So it's all about your strengths and it's a very clear message. But this is a very, very difficult thing to assess for yourself.
It's hard to articulate for yourself as well.
Oh, and articulation is even harder.
Yeah.
So although lawyers can write very well, and I mean, we work with all kinds of professionals, and I don't think anyone out there would be surprised to hear me say lawyers write better than architects and interior designers and doctors. They're actually, this is a skill set that they have. but that is not the same as writing marketing copy. And although the collaboration between the marketing professional and the lawyer is essential, and that's really where you're going to come up with good stuff, that doesn't mean that the lawyer can write their own tagline and make it a compelling one.
Okay, well, Sandra, this has been great. We're going to come back and do a couple more segments that zero in on some specific topics that we'll spend a bit more time on. But thank you very much for joining me today to talk about marketing for lawyers. Again, Sandra Bekhor from Bekhor Management in Toronto. Thanks.
My pleasure.